Good morning, everybody. How's it going so far? Having a good time? Good. Whoops, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Okay, so I wanted to start by talking a little bit about IBM, the itty-bitty machine company, just to give you a sense of what it does for those of you who may be wondering. IBM celebrated its 100th birthday in 2011, which is pretty impressive, I think, for not only for any company, but certainly a company that's in the technology business. We go to market in the B2B space still, so not a lot of consumer presence, but we provide business solutions based on hardware, software, and services. We also have a large global research organization that we support. We also provide financing for IT solutions, and that's the part of the business where I currently am. As I stand here, there are 430,000 IBMers working in 190 countries all over the globe. So to paraphrase Lord Salisbury, the sun never sets on IBM. Let me give you a sense of my personal journey and how it ties to openness and IBM's corporate perspective. I graduated from college in 1972. Check out the hair, right? This is it's a 68 Fender Precision bass, by the way, for those of you aficionados. I'm in a dressing room somewhere. Right after I got a degree in German literature at Bennington, and 6 months later, I was touring with a country rock band called McKendree Spring. I did 3 albums with them, one of which we did at Electric Ladyland, Jimi Hendrix studio on A Street in New York. When the band broke up, I moved to New York and became a session musician. I did 2 tours and a live album with Robert Palmer. We did this album in London. I played at the Meadowlands with Chuck Berry with no rehearsal. He turns around and goes, "You guys know these tunes, right?" I'm like, "Sure, Chuck, whatever, man, count it off." Played with Bo Diddley at Danceteria and The Bottom Line, and subbed on Subbed on Cats. I played at CBGBs and punk bands. You kind of do whatever you have to make a living as a musician. Came home after a tour one time, said to my friends, "How do I sleep in my own bed? What do I have to do to get off the road? Another Holiday Inn, I'm going to go crazy." They said, "Jingles, man, you got to get into the jingle business. That's where the money is." So I first broke in as a player, as a bass player, then as an arranger, a composer, and then a producer. I actually had my first job when I was 40 years old, working as a producer at a jingle house, running a synclavier. This keeps going ahead, sorry. Which is this instrument pictured here. It was the state-of-the-art digital musical instrument at the time, cost $250,000. A guy who'd been the musical director for the Four Seasons was starting a jingle house, asked me if I'd be a producer. Did a lot of radio and TV spots. Probably the most famous one, the one that you might know, is I sang and played bass on the first Kit Kat jingle. "Give me a break, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar." The residuals were great. I mean, you get checks every time they play it on the air. But the jingle biz became a little bit paint by number. So I took my jingle producing skills and moved them to the web. About 1995, there was this new wacky thing called the internet, the World Wide Web. I said, I bet that's going to have global socio-cultural impact and be a pretty interesting space to be in. And I sort of know how to deal with people and with technology. So I became a web producer and worked at a couple of seminal interactive agencies in New York, CKS Partners and Eagle River Interactive. Then, much to my surprise, in 1998, through a friend, I got an offer to interview at IBM for their fledgling corporate internet programs division. And I was like, me at IBM? What am I going to do at IBM? But this friend said, just go and talk to my VP. I think you'll find it at least an interesting conversation. So I went in, met with this woman, and I gave her my resume. It has 20 years worth of music in it, otherwise there's a big hole. So she's reading it, yeah. And I launched into my disclaimer. Listen, I was a rock and roll guy. I played in clubs. I played with Robert Palmer. I, hang out late at night in bars. And she's like, no, it's okay. I get it. She said the same, and this is very telling, I think, about IBM. And you might not think this, but she said to me, the qualities that made you successful as a freelance musician will make you successful at IBM. You're going to have to be a creative problem solver. You're going to have to be resourceful and resilient. You're going to have to be comfortable with ambiguity. You're going to have to work across disciplines. You're going to have to be aware of multicultural aspects. Can you start next week? And I'm like, what? Anyway, 15 years later, I'm still there. I've had a series of different jobs. I've worked as a strategy consultant in communications at headquarters and in the line of business. I'm driving social media adoption at IBM. I've also designed and produced events in virtual worlds. This is my avatar, Christopher Express in Second Life. If you're ever in World, offer me friendship. I'll take you up to my office. I have an office on a skypod above Almaden Island, show you some cool stuff. But let's talk about IBM in the context of openness. Just some points to make to give you a sense of how this is working. In 2005, IBM was the first Fortune 50 company to publish corporate guidelines for employees around blogging. Similarly, 2010, we established social computing guidelines. Again, keeping the messaging on strategy, they're closely tied to business conduct guidelines, but they've got to drive the business model as well. But we realize that there's value in these tools, and they should be used responsibly. More tools. This is a screen grab of something called IBM Connections. It's a cloud-based tool that anyone at IBM can use. It's free. The design conceit is that of communities. So there are probably tens of thousands of communities across IBM. You can plug in widgets to provide wikis, bookmarks, events, activities, ideation blogs where you can put ideas and have people vote on them. Another cool thing is the IBM Expertise Locator. So this is a tool that lets IBMers put in their skills and bios and contact information. So if someone needs help with doing an HR module SAP installation in Japan in a retail and distribution client, they can type in a few keywords into this tool, and they'll get several names of people who can probably help them. This is also being used externally. So one of the mantras, the guidance we're getting from the top of the business, from John Iwata, who's the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications, is increase the porosity of the firewall. So translated, that means we have a lot of smart, talented, experienced people at IBM. Let's share them on the public internet as a differentiator. So as you can see, this is a screen grab from IBM Software's public page on IBM.com. You can access these 5 people by clicking on their profiles. You can get to their LinkedIn profile. You can follow them on Twitter. It'll show you where they blog. Often some of these executives have phone numbers. So again, trying to share this expertise more broadly. IBM is very active in the Twitterverse. These are some screenshots of some of the Twitter handles that we use. They range from supporting large parts of the company. There's IBM Software has a Twitter handle, down to very niche kinds of focus areas around events or announcements or published thought leadership. I personally curate the IBM Global Financing Twitter handle at this point. Let's talk about what's happening with IBM in the future.
Hello, my name is Watson.
The 3 most important problems that make natural language understanding hard are ambiguity, ambiguity, ambiguity.
This is Jeopardy!
Yes, Jeopardy. So 2 years ago, Watson went head-to-head with the 2 reigning grand champions, Brad Rutter and Ken Jennings. And as you can see by the numbers don't lie, they were beaten quite soundly by this IBM computer, which is able to parse like 200 million pages a minute. I think it can translate 500 gigs of data in a second. So it was trained to learn the nuances of Jeopardy questions and how to answer them. We're now using this technology in a bunch of practical applications. Memorial Sloan Kettering is using an instance of Watson to help drive research around in their oncology department, specifically lung cancer, looking to use this as a digital diagnostician, if you will, better diagnoses, better patient outcomes. We put an instance at RPI. They're using it to drive research. All right, here for RPI. We're helping Citi manage the huge volumes of data to deliver better customer service and client experience. So that's IBM in the new era of openness. I hope you found this interesting. Enjoy the rest of TEDx. Thanks very much.